we are going to Today we are going to do a bit of recap like we always do through a poll-based quiz. Our quiz master Rahul is ready, and so are we. We'll probably have 4 or 5 questions, and then we will get into a topic we pick up, which is more like a supplement to what we have been discussing. Supplement like something which is important or um, and a concept usually I pick up over the Fridays that is helpful for our spiritual journey. So we are going to do that discussion as well. And today we have a hard stop, so we will pace it accordingly. So let me share my screen and we will get started. Are you able to see my screen?
Yes.
Great. Okay, so let's get started by invoking the blessings of God and Guru like we always do. Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwaraha, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah. Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsa Chanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadguru Krishnam Vande Jagadguru. All right, Radhe Radhe again, once again to all of you. So today we are going to talk about first, we're going to have a recap quiz on some of the key concepts that we have discussed. And then we are going to talk about what is the proper attitude needed to progress in life and in spirituality in general. So with that, Rahul, let's put the poll on the screen. And while we have poll on the screen, we can make announcements and other things as well that we want to talk about so that we can give enough time for everybody to join in and start taking the poll and utilize that time to make some of the announcements that we have to do as well. So over to you, Sandhya. Let's talk through some of the stuff that you want to talk about. You're able to see my screen, right? No issues there?
Yeah, we can see your screen.
Great.
Yeah, I can make some announcements, and I hope you are able to see the poll.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So the first major announcement is for tomorrow, that is Saturday at 10 a.m. CST, which is 8:30 p.m. IST. We'll be having a spiritual retreat and family camp info session, and you can join it online. I will share the link in the chat soon, so you can join it on the Zoom session. After that, one of the major announcements for the weekend is Sunday Satsang, and this time it will be super special because now Swamiji is in Dallas. So you have that opportunity to either join it in person if you are around the Dallas area, or join it virtually from your home. So it will be from 10:30 a.m., which means 9 p.m. IST in India. So those are the two major announcements. And apart from that, we have our West Coast retreat coming up from May 27 to May 29 in Fresno. And then we have the family camp coming up in July. So a lot of events where you can relish the bliss of bhakti and spend time with Swamiji. So all those major announcements are there, and I will share all the links in the chat shortly. Anything else you wanted to add?
I guess there is also Mata Ki Chauki at the temple tomorrow evening.
Okay.
Awesome. Have we made all the announcements?
Yes, I think so.
Okay. So let's give a little bit of time for our participants to participate in the poll. I think we have how many? 2, 3, 4, 5 questions today, and I've started response are already trickling in, 5 of 28. So we'll give a little bit of time for all of you to participate. It's a good way to recap your learning and check on some of the key concepts, how well you have understood those, and even otherwise just fill in. It's always a good way to recap the knowledge. So I would encourage everybody to participate in this. And we are super excited. Like we said, Swamiji is here for his 6-month tour to US. Now we will get the opportunity to meet him in person, attend retreats, and get his personal association with satsangs and other things. And this Sunday we are going to meet him, and it's going to be a satsang along with him. So we are very, very happy and excited to share that news with you. And I think there'll be events that you can join virtually as well. I don't know, Sunday satsang, is it going to be aired virtually as well?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, wonderful. So it's a great opportunity for you to join with us virtually. All right. Yes, go ahead.
Payalji has, I guess, something to say.
Yes, please go ahead.
Yes, Payalji.
Radhe Radhe, can you please share this poll again? Because I don't know, I'm not been able to. I submitted in between, it seems.
Are you able to see? I can see the poll.
You might want to
I
read.
saw it initially, but I submitted it in between and I just could not cover the remaining questions. I don't know. And is there any possibility that can be shared again?
I think you can rejoin and then it will again.
You can rejoin, it will automatically come up.
Oh, okay,
If you
okay.
end the poll, it will end it for everyone and it will get relaunched.
Okay. All right then. Thank you, Radhe Radhe.
So you can drop and then join back in. That way you
Sure.
should be able to,
Thank you.
No worries. Okay, we'll give about 3 more minutes for everybody to log in their responses before we get started.
Nitinji, I was asking, do we want to discuss the video stories seva in general so that people can feel encouraged to join different teams?
The video reviews that we're doing?
The YouTube video, like watching it and extracting the stories.
We can talk a little bit about it. We'll do it in more detail on Tuesday, next Tuesday or Monday.
We can talk then only. I mean, I don't.
Because there are some beautiful slides also I wanted to share related to Bhagavatam and tee off that seva basically. Okay, we'll give a few more minutes. We have 25 of 39 participation. I think it'll be good if at least 80-90% of you can participate in it. It's a good way to refresh your knowledge and validate your knowledge as well, understanding of key concepts as well. So please do participate. We'll give you 2 more minutes because I still see participants joining in. 2 more minutes and then we will get started with our discussion.
And I hope tomorrow's information session about the retreats and the spiritual camp, and many of us might feel inspired to actually register for that and probably make plans ahead of time to join it in person if they are within the United States. Yes,
that'll be awesome because Swamiji is going to be here. So if you are in Dallas or around Dallas, it's a must be place, to our Radha Krishna temple on Sunday. Yes, Samji, you had a question? Yeah. Okay. Now you need to be on.
Like the window came, and then I answered all the questions. Once I submitted it, the whole window gone. Like you said, I restarted again. After restarting it, I filled up the answers again and submitted it. After submitting it, the window is gone.
Okay, no worries. At least when we do the control, you will be able to see. I think it would have recorded the responses. Might be a Zoom problem. No, technology can act funny. Technology has a mind of its own.
I think the window goes away because now that vote has been registered. Now when we share the results, then it will be visible.
You will see again. Yeah.
When we will see it, once you do the answer the clarifications.
Yes. Yeah, once we do the end poll, then we can share the results.
There is a little weird way because then they should gray out instead of getting away. It will be confusing.
Yeah, I
some
think
graying or something, a submit button should have been grayed out totally. That
so
once you've done it,
Zoom's product management team, I think they have not thought through this whole thing. So that is why we have that. We can provide that
then
recommendation.
everybody gets panicky that what happened. Because once you explain it, we don't see the window. It'll be, what good is that?
No, but
And-
once it end the poll and the results are shared, you will be able to see whether your response was correct or not.
Hopefully.
You will.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Sumantaji, you had a question as well. I saw your hand raised. We are going to close the poll pretty soon. Just giving the last few set of participants an opportunity to participate, and then the countdown has already started. So we are down to our last 30 seconds or so. Sumantaji, you wanted to ask something in the meantime?
Yeah, you are unmuted, Sumanta. I think your internet is frozen. Yeah, probably.
Okay, so I think we have pretty good participation, close to 80%. So let's end the poll unless somebody's and share the results. Who's talking?
Sumanta ji, and then we are not able
I
to
think we may have to mute. Sumanta, you may have to rejoin your audio.
Yes. I
Your
had
audio.
a doubt from yesterday that you told
Not able to hear you. Sorry, you are cutting off really badly. Okay, let's get started. Sumanta, you want to rejoin with your audio, or maybe turn off your video and then try audio. It might be better. Okay, so let's get started. First question was painting with the color of dash with the color of God will make it cleaner. Everybody, all of the, okay, somebody said all of the above, 2 of 33. Somebody went with mind, hair, body, mind. Somebody said all of the above. Well, I don't know how to color our hair with the color of God, or color our body with the color of God. I mean, color of God. Okay, so the key here is the concept that we have spoken about here is we need to color our mind with the color of God. And the reason for that is, if you look at it, this is our heart. Colloquially also, it is our mind, colloquially called as heart in spiritual parlance, because it is also called our antakaran. So it is dirty. It is like an old dirty cloth, and the old dirty cloth needs to be cleaned, right? So as you start attaching it to God, which is pure, see, it start getting cleaned up and even start shining. Because if you attach it to the world, it will take on the 3 colors of the world. 3 colors of the world are tamas, rajas, and sattva. And only when you attach it to God, that's when it shines forth. And it is called our mind. What do you attach? Do you do your work with your body or your mind? It's with our mind that we do work. Sometimes we are absent-minded, right? Mentally present somewhere else, and somebody is saying, hey, can you bring us a glass of water, or can you please do that? Or sometimes there are people, you hear their story and your mind diverts completely, that, okay, who's going to listen to that? So God notes the mind, where your mind was, not where you were physically present. Because the work done by our senses and our body and our hair, it's not recorded. The work done by our mind is recorded. So everything is related to mind. And it's only when we color our mind in the color of God, that means we are engaging our mind in God. That's when it becomes clean and it shines forth. So this saying says, Ye anuragi chitta ki gati samjhe na koi, jo jo dube sham rang tyun tyun ujjwal hoye. So that was the concept, and that was what the first question was based off. Now, moving on, the second question was, for attaining the highest bliss, the color of God in the previous question refers to Shamrang, Gaurang, Shamrang, and Gaurang, none of the above. Actually, yeah. So in this particular slide, I have taken Shamrang in this particular slide. But even if you devour both Shamrang plus Gaurang, then also it will have the same effect. In fact, scripturally speaking, you have to do to actually perfect your devotion, you have to worship Shakti and Shaktiman both. Right? So even if you go to Krishna Bhakti, in the advanced stages, you have to do Radha Bhakti as well. Okay, Shakti and Shaktiman both. So Shamrang and Gaurang would be the most appropriate answer, even though in the slide, in the previous one, I'm saying Shamrang. That is also right. So whoever has said Shamrang or Gaurang or both Sham and both, I think I would say everybody's right in that case. I hope that concept makes sense. Shakti and Shaktiman both. And the reason we say Radhe Radhe, a lot of people say, why do you do Radhe Radhe? Okay, they would prefer to say Hari Om or Jai Shri Krishna or Hare Ram. All that is good, perfectly fine. In this case, we say Radhe Radhe because we are going to Shakti and saying it's like the route to father is through the mother. Mother is soft, right? She knows how to get to your father, and that's where we do Radhe Radhe, because it's sweeter way of approaching Shaktiman. Finally, it's the same, but we approach it to the mother, and that is why we say Radhe Radhe. So there is a concept behind that as well. Yes, Dayashini, you had a question?
Just one line. I just saw it in this morning regarding this question that पूरी दुनिया कृष्णा नाम जपते हैं
Krishna.
और कृष्णा किसका नाम जपते हैं? राधे 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 राधे.
Radhe
Just
Radhe.
wanted to ask.
Yeah, in Braj, in Barsana, they say Radhe Radhe, and then the completion is Sham se milade. Okay, so this is how it goes. And that is a very sweet way of approaching God himself. Okay, and Krishna, the moment you say Radhe Radhe, he actually comes, he starts running towards you. But however, since we are not yet there, he has to stop, right? He cannot manifest himself. But every time we say Radhe Radhe, he gets really happy and actually approaches, and it's a very purifying thing. In fact, Maharaji said, even if for 10 days you can do this job, which seems easy, but at the same time difficult. I've tried it and failed miserably so many times. For 10 days, you do this job and see what happens. He said, बहुत बड़ा कल्याण हो जाएगा. A lot of auspicious things would happen. Anyways, so this is the power of Radha name or God name as well. Next question is, rising above the three modes of material nature can only be attained by unalloyed devotion, fasting, japas, visit to pilgrimage, and holy places. Somebody said japas as well. Would you like to explain the concept behind it? Anybody who said japas? Okay, nobody's saying that. Yeah, Rahul, you wanted to say something?
There is a follow-up question from Bunny ji that does Radha ji come running when we say Krishna, Krishna, Krishna?
I have not heard about it, Sham, but yeah, they both adore each other, right? Both are happy when the other person's name is called. But for Krishna, I've definitely heard that from the mouth of Swamiji. Krishna starts coming, Maharajji, running towards you when you say Radhe Radhe. And the day we can say Radhe Radhe, right now we are saying it from the tongue. Then gradually it will move towards your throat. And finally, when it will get down to your soul, right, you will say Ra and you will not be able to complete The after that. That is the power of Radha's name. But that would be a very advanced stage to be in, right? So when you say Ra, a lot of good things happen. Even Shivji, Bhagwan, he also gets very excited hearing about it. That, okay, now the next word that is going to come is going to be Ma, because it's his Ishtadev. Now the person may be desiring to say Van, Ravan, but Shivji Bhagwan is still, okay, he's going to say Ma. So that is the power of God's name. Okay, that much pleasure they derive who worship them as their Ishtadev and who truly understand the power in the name of God, and that God has filled in all of his powers in his name. So that is the power of God's name. See, if we continue to say, what do you call that? Any other name, right? I don't know which name. I don't want to end up saying some name on who's in the participant list and say, why are you saying my name? Right? Whatever name we say, if it's a worldly name, then it will not have its effect because it's a worldly name. And but God's name, it is not an ordinary name. If you say Ram Ram, Krishna Krishna, it'll leave its impact. But it has to be followed with faith and of course remembrance. And when we do, let's say water, 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 will it quench our thirst? It will not. But if you say Ram Ram Ram, Krishna Krishna Krishna, with faith and remember, it will start quenching your spiritual thirst. That is the power in God's name. I don't know which name I would have said, okay, whatever came to my mind when you said, why you taking my name, right? Anyways, so this question, rising above the three modes of material nature, can only be attained by, the right answer is neither japa, tapa, vrat. All of these things do not matter actually. It's actually unalloyed devotion. Bhakti is the only way to attain God. Okay, and rising above the three modes of nature. Rest all are karam kands, which are good to discipline our mind or to build a faith in a superior divinity. The idea is to build in these practices so that we can discipline our mind, and the hope is that it should lead to the higher understanding or higher concept, which is learning to develop love and faith for God. So it's only through unalloyed devotion, tesham satatu yuktanam, right? That is what God says, that it has to be unalloyed, unadulterated. That means it's not like you have a little bit of God, a little bit of demigod, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, a mixture, a cocktail of all the Devi Devatas in your head, just because you want a lot of material boons and you are hedging your bets in case, one God doesn't listen, maybe the other one would do. He said, no, if it has to be unalloyed, me and exclusively me. Okay. And then second thing is it has to be continuous, right? It is that is called, right, son of the what do you call, saralta namar, not saralta namarta, but ananyata, nishkamta, and what was the third one? NAN principle, nirantarta. These three things are needed for us to rise above the three modes of nature. Because when we rise above the three modes of nature, that means we have conquered Maya. And for us to conquer Maya, we need the grace of God. And the principle of God's grace is to surrender. And when we surrender, the Nirantarta, Ananyata, and Nishkamta, all those things will automatically come. So they are all interrelated. So unalloyed devotion is the only means. Okay. And God, whenever he is referred to this concept in Bhagavad Gita, he's not saying, you do fast, you do karam kand, you do ashtang yoga, or you do kundalini jagaran, and then you will attain me. Never, nowhere he's saying that. He's directly saying bhakti. Bhakti is the only way to attain God. Right? Even the yoga aspect of it, all the yogs like karam yoga, gyan yoga, bhakti is anyway in itself. The yoga aspect is uniting. That is the bhakti aspect. So you have to mix bhakti in regardless of which path you have taken for you to have that result of attaining God or gaining the eligibility to get God's grace. So it's unalloyed devotion is the right answer. It's definitely not japa or fasting or visit to pilgrimages and holy places. So visit to pilgrimage and holy places is being religious. Putting a tika and wearing that clothes is being religious. However, bringing holiness inside, doing internal decoration as opposed to doing something external is called spirituality. So when you are working on making yourself holy, that is called spirituality. When you are just working to tick, okay, I've been to 4 dhams or whatever those dhams, that is being religious. Now, when you become religious without becoming spiritual, I mean, it may impress the world, maybe our grandmom and other people around. But when we become holy from within, start working on ourselves, that is called being spiritual. That makes God happy. So this is how the principle goes. So I hope you understand. Now this brings in the concept, the difference between being religious and being spiritual as well. So doing dham is a good practice, but it is just being religious, because unless that holiness is brought inside, you are not being spiritual. So you could be spiritual without being religious, or you could be religious without being spiritual, or you could be both religious and spiritual, which is the best way. Right? So that is the whole idea. Religion and should lead to spirituality, eventually building connect with God. And when we start working on ourselves and bring holiness inside, then we don't even need to take Ganga Snan at that point. Right? Ravidas ji had said that man changa to kathauti mein Ganga. So that is how the process goes. And Karam Kand aspect, it doesn't lead you too far basically in life, because it initially it is good to start off with, and it is good for the newer generation to bring them into the fold. But beyond that, we have the real meaning of all these Karam Kands is to eventually lead us to develop love and faith for God. Okay, fourth question. Material and spiritual science are bona fide and complementary to each other. However, the former is needed for this, whereas the latter is needed for this. Okay, so now former, latter, okay. That becomes a little English question. Yes, so one of former means material, latter is spiritual. Material is needed for the body and the other one for soul. And that is what the majority of you got it right, which is wonderful. So real quick, this concept, I'm glad you were able to do that. So this is the concept. Both sciences are scriptures say that they are both bona fide sciences, material science as well as spiritual science. And each one of it has its own place. Spiritual material science basically is there to make our life comfortable, right? And the comforts and luxuries and those kind of things can be brought about by material science. The technology, we are leveraging the technology because of which we are sitting here and being able to share information and exchange our thoughts as well. That is all enabled to us through material science, which is called Vidya. And then the second is spiritual science, which is the study of the lawmaker, where Paravidya, that has its own place as well, right? Because these questions related to our life are not answered by science. Yes, you had a question, Sandhya?
I had a question regarding the statement earlier. Like, someone who is spiritual as well as religious is the best, but someone who is spiritual but not religious is also equally good, right? There is no problem.
That is fine. And not best, I would say. Basically, they don't see any difference in that case, right?
Right.
So,
They are
right,
both
like for
good.
Swamiji, he's not only wearing this and putting tika, but also being, right? So they are like, they don't see any difference basically. They are able to embrace both without it seamlessly, right? But yeah, if you're spiritual, you're already serving the purpose there.
Like what I'm saying, if someone is spiritual, they does not necessarily have to perform all the rituals which are subscribed, say, for them.
They're not required to, but yeah, they embrace it because they find it beneficial as well, right? Like for example, Swamiji, now if Karam Sannyasi is there, he would embrace those aspects as well related to it, although they don't have to. Right now, they don't have to put a tika or that, but they do that because that becomes part of their identity. So
It's a choice, basically. Yeah.
it's a choice, yeah. All right. So spirituality answers the deeper questions of life. That was the next question. Now, the last one is modern science follows the dash process of acquiring knowledge. It's a split verdict. It's not all of the above for sure. It is the ascending process. Bottom up, you gain knowledge and then you gain and you start building layer on top of layer on top of layer. And that is how the modern science evolves. It is not a descending process, which is like once said, always maintained, which is what scriptures are. Science is a bottom-up process. It's like it gains a little understanding and then more and more and then more. It keeps on evolving. Right? Atom being indivisible and then neutrons, protons, and then quark particles. And now we're talking about Higgs boson and quantum physics and stuff like that. It's an evolving thing. It is called an ascending process. That is how we learn in school also. First, we learned alphabets. Then we learned small words. Then we learned bigger words. Then we learned sentences, phrases, and all that stuff. It is called ascending knowledge. All right, so that concludes our quiz section. Any question before we move on to another important topic today? So good, hope you got some more clarity on what we've been talking about. Stop sharing, and then I think we can close this now. Okay, I'm going to close it. So thank you for your participation. Now let's move on an important topic that I wanted to take up in today's discussion, which is we're going to talk about attitude. Okay, so there is a saying which says that it is the attitude and not the aptitude that determines our altitude in life. Okay, so attitude is good and the key thing for us, and not the aptitude, okay, that determines our altitude. So this is how it works. And what is this attitude, right? I mean, it has a negative connotation as well, especially amongst the youth. They say, hey, you have a lot of attitude. So we're not talking about that attitude, which has a negative connotation to it. It is a positive or a good attitude in life that is a very, very beneficial, or I would say it's a great asset to have. Right? If somebody can have that, harbor that, that is the best gift they can give to themselves. So let's talk a little bit about that. Now, attitude means you are able to, take things in stride and reason out with yourself, even if things are not going well, right? It could have been much worse, kind of a story. Now, a lot of us, we start complaining under the slightest of pretexts as well. Oh my God, this is happening, that is happening in life, this is not working, or I don't have this. This is called that black dot syndrome, right? The whole board is white and you see one black spot and start complaining about it. So could have been much worse is the first thing that comes to people who are positive in life. Okay, it could have been much worse. Immediately they're able to reason it out and come out of it. Right? There's a very humorous story that Swamiji talks about, this girl who writes a letter to her mother. That mother, you know what? She was in college, so she said, I stole 500 rupees from my friend, so that I could rent a bike, somebody's bike. But since I couldn't rent it, I found some keys stuck in a bike, so I stole it. And then while I was riding it, as the luck would have it, I fell down from the bike. Okay, but I'm sorry to tell you, when I fell down, I broke my leg. But not to worry, there was a very good guy who came and helped me. And guess what? He was a doctor and a good looking guy. And it was love at first sight. Okay, before I could realize, and I was about to tell you, but then things happened and so quickly that we got married. Then we thought, that, to break out the news of marriage, I was thinking for the last few months to let you know about that. But then we thought we are anyway coming home and we will let you know that a baby is also coming out. Okay, so we thought we'll tell you in one shot when we do that. And by the way, he's out of house these days, so he's going to come and stay with us only. And because he's from a different religion, don't get scared if he tries to convert you to his religion. Okay, so that's what. So her mother was, you can just imagine the state of her mother, right? So she was about to collapse, and in the footnote she had written PS. Okay, just putting things in perspective, I just got an F in my engineering exam. If things were to go wrong, they can go wrong really well. So it was I just got failed basically in one of my subjects. So the point here is, of course, we don't have to do that, but sometimes we hype it up in our head. Oh my God, what is happening? We are not living in a war zone. We are not in any Gulf country, right? Next moment, something is going to happen where a missile is going to blow down and one of our eardrums is going to get shattered, or when we walk out, we'll lose a leg and then we'll have to go to a leg camp just to, walk our way for the rest of our life. A lot of things are happening in the world. We get up, we get fresh air, we are able to take a bath. So many blessings are out there. Sometimes we lose perspective of that and start complaining about that one thing which is not going right. So people who have a good attitude, they have this mindset, it could have been much worse, and they take the positive out of that situation as well. The second aspect is focus on what we have and then what we don't or could not, right? This glass half and glass full empty syndrome kind of a deal. There was a guy who was, saying my life is a mess and it's not worth living and I'm going to end it off. So Swamiji gives a very, logical explanation on this particular thing. He said, okay, ask that guy, you know what, I'll give you 10 lakh rupees, give me both of your eyes. He'll say, of course not, I will not do that. He said, okay, now give me 50 lakhs and give me both of your arms also. He said, what kind of a demand is this? He said, okay, give me both of your legs, I'll give you 1 crore. He will not settle for that. So the point here is we are already a millionaire and a billionaire, but we don't realize those blessings. And again, start focusing on those things which we don't have. Again, this is a child of a mind which doesn't harbor proper attitudes in life. Okay, same thing, Arthur Ashe story I told yesterday. Arthur Ashe, when he was asked, he contracted AIDS as part of a blood transfusion because he had a heart bypass surgery because of an attack that he had. And it was for no fault of his, he became an AIDS victim and his days on this earth was limited. Somebody asked him, don't you feel bad about it? And then he said, there are 50 million people who play tennis, kids. And then out of that, 5 million go on to continue playing in their high school. And out of that, 10,000 people turn professionals. Out of that, 1,000 truly are able to play in the professional league. And out of those, 32 get to play Wimbledon. Out of these, 4 could play the semifinals. I was one of them. And 2 could play finals. I was one of them and I won it as well. Okay, so I can't ask for more from God. So that is the mindset you need to have, what you have, rather than focusing on things that you don't have. Having these eyes, these able body, all that stuff, when it starts getting snatched away, then we realize, and then we keep on complaining about, few things in life here and there. So that attitude is there. Decorating self from within, right? When we go out, we put in a lot of stuff on our faces, hair and stuff like that. The real decoration is from within. God is happy when we start adorning ourselves with inner jewels more than outer jewels. So that is another good attitude where we are looking at seeking out opportunities in life for inner growth. All right, this is a tough situation that has come in my life. What is the learning I can get out of it and move on, as opposed to getting stuck there only. Same story, keep on replaying and troubling your own mind and people around. Okay, because that opportunity or that mindset is not there, that everything is there for the inner growth. So we look for external accomplishments to make us happy. God becomes happy. We become happy when we get external accomplishments or external adornments. God becomes happy when we decorate ourselves with inner adornments. When we learn a lesson, when we move just slightly a little further, God is very happy, is very pleased. That, okay, now the soul is, doing something that pleases me. So if we have to please God, we have to focus on our inner growth. Every little step that we take is extremely pleasing to God. So for a person, if somebody has done only one painting in life or learned this much of lesson, from a material sense, it might be a failure. But from God's sense, it's still a success because that soul took a little bit of jump ahead. And that is why if you're able to make a little bit of difference in your life, in this life, God is extremely pleased. And if you're able to make somebody else take that leap in whatever way, God is still pleased, right? So both ways it's auspicious. All right, the next one is being cheerful. This is a great virtue to have. Okay, being cheerful, because if you are not cheerful, then it is not good. Okay, neither good for you nor for people around you. So that is a great attitude. And for you to be cheerful, of course, your mind has to be cheerful. And for your mind to be cheerful, your quality of mind has to be good. And for the quality of your mind to be good, it needs to be pure. And for it to be pure, it has to be invested in pure things or uplifting and noble things at least. See, the best thing is God, of course, but a lot of people, they don't believe in God. Then the Swamiji very beautifully says that, okay, what do I do if I don't believe in God? He said, do the next best thing, become good. Try to become good, acquire noble virtues. What will happen is, if you are truly lining to even the sattva gun part of it, one of the things that will manifest is that you will become cheerful, better, more happier than people around you. And if you're consistently not being cheerful, that means the quality of your mind is in shambles. That needs to be improved drastically. That is how it goes. More importantly, this having a cheerful attitude also chisels the contour of our appearance as well. Okay, so I was talking about that. If you want to look presentable, desirable to people around you, be cheerful. It always helps. Okay. If you're not cheerful, you need to work towards being cheerful. Keep on laughing, fake it until you can make it, but be cheerful. That is a great art to have. All right. And then focus on making the journey joyous. That is the key thing. The destination syndrome, where we get hung up in the destination side. There are so many roses on the way that you can enjoy, as opposed to seeking out that big garden that we always have at the back of our mind. So this destination syndrome is also something that we need to watch out for on the path of spirituality. The journey itself becomes so beautiful that you don't care when you are going to reach the destination. End of the day, even when you reach the destination, you would have already been ready for the seva, for God, right? Or meet him. Then you don't care. You patiently wait for his grace to intervene and continue to focus on thing which is within your hands. Get your fundamentals right, your sadhana, seva, and satsang. Focus on that. Joy factor will also come in, cheerfulness will also come in, happiness will also increase, and then you don't even care or lament about, oh my God, when am I going to meet God? You patiently wait for it. So focus on the journey. Let's make it so joyful that it doesn't matter at that point. All right. So your attitude is in your hands. Choose the proper attitude. That is the key. It's in your hands. Nobody else controls it. Right? Our attitude is not a function of others' behavior towards us. Our attitude is not a function of what others would subject us to. Right? It is completely our own prerogative. That is the key. Now let's look at it from the benefit standpoint. It gives us the experience of joy or misery. Right? Now the Arthur-ish example that I gave you, he's able to experience joy in the same situation. Somebody else would be miserable. They say, oh my God, my days are numbered. Why did God this to me and that to me, kind of a deal. So he's just able to look at it in perspective. So you choose joy or misery. Even Viktor Frankl, for that matter, in some of the harshest situations and circumstances that he was subjected to in Nazi camp, he could still choose. He said, I still had the ability to choose happiness. Nobody can snatch it away from me. Such an empowering thought in such dire situation or circumstances. So that means your attitude that you harbor or nurture, that basically directly translates to whether you are miserable in life or whether you are happy in life. And there is no excuse that some other person is the cause of misery for us. It's your own mind, your own self, nobody else, and your incorrect, defective attitude, nothing else. Okay, we have so many things going for us. It just has to be looked at in perspective. The second thing is it will bless you with good health. We spoke about it. It will bless you with good health, because when you have a right attitude, when you're able to choose happiness or uplifting noble thoughts, then it acts at your, if you look at our body, right, we have Anandamay Kosh, right? Anandamay Kosh is in a good state at that point. And then it translates to finally to your Annamay Kosh, gross body as well. So when Sage Vashisht was asked by Ram, what is the cause of Vyadhi or disease? He said it all starts from the mind, right? So when it starts from the mind and your mind is not happy, of course, it is going to result in long-term illness. And when your attitude is good, you're able to choose positivity, uplifting thoughts, no matter how your external situation is, then of course your gross body will also feel healthy. Okay, it'll secrete all those hormones which are good for you. When we are happy, we know, right, endorphins and all those hormones are secreted, and when we are not, cortisol, or I think those kind of hormones are secreted, which are not good for our biological health. So stressful, remaining stressful or worrying about things and stuff like that, people, you see, those are the people who suffer with arthritis. Bitterness is, you can directly correlate with arthritis in later part of your life, or even in middle age. So people who harbor resentment and bitterness, they usually suffer from arthritis. Okay, hypertension, ulceritis, all these things are related to excessive bitterness, resentment, and negative thinking. Okay, so that direct implication on our health. We may not know it now, but Brahmaji has his ways to tell us. After a certain age, it will tell you, okay, something has started happening with our body. So good health. Third thing is, will impact your performance at work. Of course it will, right? There's a statistic about 23% of the 27 or something, pretty high statistic. In fact, it used to be in 80s previously. Those people, they get fired from their company, okay, or they don't get promoted because of their attitude issues, not because they are technically not equipped to handle what they are doing, just because they have a wrong, a defective attitude. Okay, the world is bad, people are playing politics with me, world, nobody helps me, this person is always like that with me, he doesn't listen to me. All these are excuses. Okay, learn. God has given us our intellect, learn to navigate through that, don't complain. Okay, everybody is operating in the same world, and there might be some test reserved for you to be in that particular kind of a situation. But playing a victim card, this is happening to me and all that, is of course not something which is acceptable, because your performance at work is again determined by your attitude. How do you look at it? There was a guy who used to complain about, when we started his COBOL Pro, oh my God, I wanted to work in Java. What is kind of a technology they have put me in those black screens the whole day, I have to look at it. And then there was another guy, when people said he used to write code, he used to write it like a poem. In the COBOL code also, he learned how to write it creatively like a poem, flowing poem. So people who are good at what they want to do, who have the correct attitude, can extract milk out of rock also. That is again boils down to our attitude. And people with defective attitude, everything they need. I need promotion, I need money. They find politics everywhere. They feel wronged everywhere. Their boss is the worst. Their peers are the worst. The whole world is out to get them. So if you're in that trap, it's about time to relook at your attitude rather than blaming the world around. Yes, Rahul, you wanted to say something?
So there is a question in the chat.
Mhm.
So there is a question from Anamika that I have struggled with the position that others are not responsible for our misery. I have a friend who is in a toxic marriage to the point that her spouse is wishing her failure at a new job that she is about to start on Monday. She has suffered so much emotional abuse. How can we say that her mind is the cause of her suffering when she is clearly a victim here?
Something you can't cure, you have to endure. See, we have spoken about this concept previously. There are a lot of ways to look at it. If there's a domestic help happening, of course, you have to draw a line somewhere. If it is something you can cure, sure, go for it. There are only three options in any situation: change the system, quit the system, or learn to live with the system. The Viktor Frankl story that I was talking about, this guy was in Nazi concentration camp, and and he was made to walk naked at night, and he was subjected to some terrible torture, concentration camp. And then during that, he came to know that his wife and his son, they were also incarcerated, and brother, I guess, they were all killed. Okay, so those kind of situations he was in. And at that moment, he realized nobody has a right to choose his happiness from him. He could harbor that attitude in extreme situations as well. So for us in our life, there are too many variables at play here, right? Can you change that system? Or is it just the words that make you feel bad? Somebody's saying something and you're not able to tolerate or digest it. Or it could be a situation where, because of your karma, you are being subjected to something that you dished out to some other person in some other life. That is also, it might be a payback time. But the point is, regardless of the situation that we are in, the sentiments that we choose toward that situation is entirely our prerogative. Unless we are getting physically abused, that's somebody crossing the line, those sentiments are, it's usually the words that make us feel miserable. And if we can tolerate those words, especially if we have to endure it with higher sentiments, that anyway, end of the day, it's all temporary. End of the day, I still have able body. End of the day, I can do things on my own. If you simply have to tolerate somebody, they are not doing anything more. It's just about increasing your tolerance around that. Or if you have an option, change the person. Or if you have an option, quit the system and do something on your own. All three options are there. But not learning to live with that and keep complaining about the same thing is not something which is endorsed by anybody. Somehow we need to find a way out of it. Could be anything, right? It could be payback time also. Because if let's say that person was subjected to similar thing in previous life, how else can it be neutralized, right? Sometimes it's our own payback time. Sometimes we just have to improve our thought process and sentiments and outlook around how we are seeing things. People mostly, they get stuck in troubled marriage because they are not able to tolerate the other person's words. Not even physical abuse, it's just the words that cause so much of disharmony at home. One word said and 20 years they did not speak, or they're not able to tolerate each other's words. Why? Because you feel you need to give it back to them. So maybe there's a lesson in that situation, and it's very contextual. They need to look at it very subjectively and see what can be done. Like I said, everything has always three options. Can you do something about it? Yes, then do it. You cannot do something about it. What you can't cure, endure, or just quit the system. Look at your option and make peace with it, rather than complaining for the rest of the life with your own self, playing a victim card and telling everybody, your friends and everybody around, this is happening to me. It's really not going to solve the problem. Anyways, it's a much more nuanced, because different situations can happen. But yeah, it will impact our performance at work, and it will impact your experience in relationships as well. If you have a good attitude, you can navigate through tricky situations and relationships as well, especially on the personal front. But if you don't have a good attitude, you have a complaining mindset, you will find problem for every solution as well. So attitude is, end of the day, make or break for us in every sense. Okay, that is why I thought we'll pick up this thing, and more so importantly on the spiritual path as well. Yes, let's take a few questions and then we can, I think we have about 7-8 minutes.
Yeah, Radhe Radhe Sandhya ji.
Yeah, Radhe Radhe. So, in terms of good attitude, can we say like just having the attitude of gratitude can itself be like a key driving factor as a good attitude and can bring in all positive changes?
True, it's a very good thing you brought in. Yeah, attitude of gratitude is best thing, right? If you fill yourself up with so much of positivity, there's no room left for negativity. In fact, people who are complaining are the ones who have no sense of gratitude in their life. They only want to focus on problems in their life, and that is why they get stuck. If they have a sense of gratitude, that negativity will automatically vanish away. How many people on this earth get a human birth? And once they get a human birth, how many of them get an able body? Out of those who get an able body, how many of them get a spiritual spark? Out of that, who get a spiritual spark, how many get proper spiritual knowledge or a guru or a guide? Out of that, who get that, how many of them get seva? Right? There are so many things to actually think about, but we keep on harboring on one thing and forget all the graces, all the reasons for us to feel grateful about, and start harping about the negativity. It is extremely unpleasing to God and Guru. Yes, let's take a couple of, thank you, Sandhya, for bringing that up. Gratitude is a great, maintain a gratitude journal. That is a great way to beat negativity. When we are ungrateful, that's when we become negative. Yes, a couple of other hands. Manishi, you want to say something?
Yeah, Radhe Radhe Nitin ji and everyone. I just want to say that the problems and sufferings, sometimes comes, we don't understand when we're going through it, but when we look at it, years, like in my case, the problems and suffering came to prepare me for what was coming. And I think God had a plan, and I didn't understand, but now that I look at it, it was preparing to be mentally tough for to help my wife for the diagnosis, as I had shared before, with the blood cancer and all that stuff. And looking at it now, it was just so that I was in the position to help her and be more stronger and be mentally tough. And I'm actually here, the person I am today, because of the sufferings and problems that I went through on my own. And I think I looked at it as that was like a grace of God as well.
Wonderful.
And wonderful news to share is, 1 year ago, my wife had the stem cell transfer. April, she almost died, and then stem cell transplant occurred she was reborn on April 15th. And so tomorrow is her first birthday, and she's fully recovered, not fully, but like she's in remission, and just recently had the brain surgery to remove a malformation, and is now resuming full activities and all that. And it's all that is because of the grace of God, Guru Swamiji's blessings, and from sharing my story in the session, all the best wishes from Nitinji, you, all the devotees, everyone in the session. From the bottom of my heart, truly appreciate all the support and everything that has come my way. Thank you. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe. Thank you, Manishi, for sharing that. Good to know that your wife is fully recovered now, and happy birthday, her second birthday, right, in advance. And good to know that she's in remission, and wish her a very speedy recovery. And the good thing is you have the perfect attitude that is needed to sail through these kind of personal turmoils that, a lot of us have to go through. And keep harboring that attitude, and I'm sure more of God and grace, Guru's grace will flow in. But really heartening to hear that your wife is well and truly on her way to recovery. So thank you so much for that, Manishi. Yes, Sunilji, and it recites me of Sunilji. Let's hear from you, and then I'll say that it reminds me of another verse that I wanted to talk about. Yes, Sunilji, please go ahead.
Yes, Radhe Radhe. I mean, yes, I mean, like, I read like Swamiji's books and all. And I think before I read Swamiji's books, there was like everywhere these days you find like self-help books. There are like nuggets, pieces of nuggets. Follow this, follow that, do this, do that. And, like after, listening to all this, and I think from the knowledge of scripture and sense, what I learned and what these saints and scriptures have told me is, all these can be like followed if we, I'll say, we can follow this if we transform our goal towards spirituality. Then only like these things will come in line.
Right.
If we don't do that, then we'll have like okay, in this situation do that, in that situation do this. We'll have like we'll be putting like one like bullet pointer, 1 point, 2 point, 3 point, do this and do that. But these will all flow naturally, and I think that again goes back to detachment, whole detachment. And only when we like keep our aim as like spiritual, when spiritual upliftment is our aim, then all these nuggets will make sense.
Very true.
All these nuggets will make sense, and we'll start doing it. And as far as like I think a couple of people that told me, like as far as physical consequences, I mean, I have had bad consequences, I also have good consequences. Everyone will have that, but these are not done by God. If God would do to someone or me, why wouldn't he do to all? It's nonsense. These are all our these are all the consequences of our actions, past actions, present actions. So unless we think of like spiritual aim, my aim is to evolve spiritually, at the end God realization is the aim. Because let's face it, our relative, okay, that person is safe today, but how long is that person going to be safe? That person could die 2 years later or like 5 years later, any of us. Then what do? We go and curse God?
True.
So there is nothing, like so after like listening all this deeply, what I thought was these nuggets, these positive things we can only follow, and it will only change when we make spiritual upliftment as the aim of our life.
True. I think
not the material achievement or material luxuries as our aim of life.
Yes, I think you summed it up well. We have a hard stop now at 10. Thank you, Sunilji, for your wonderful inputs. Very true. End of the day, if we make inner growth as our priority, to sum it up, then every situation, circumstance is an opportunity for us to evolve and to become a better version of ourselves. Anything and everything that gets thrown our way. And more often than not, all the negative situations that get thrown in our life is like a postman delivering our own package to us. Okay, we are the authors of our destiny, nobody else. So with that, let's conclude our discussion for today. It's 10 o'clock. I look forward to seeing you next week. Stay blessed. Have a great rest of your week. and weekend. And Radhe Radhe from my side. Over to you, Sunil Bhai and Ajay. Thank you. Radhe Radhe.
Thank you, Nitin Bhai. Thank you for another wonderful session. Authors of our own destiny. I love